I've had city people tell me that they're storing food, and you know they've got all this stuff, and you know they got guns and ammo and all this kind of stuff, and I'm wondering, and I don't know, but I don't know how you hold a position in the city. Like I say, with my years of training SWAT teams, one thing that I did learn, there's nothing that can't be entered. So the only thing I want to say on this is, if I was holding up in town, in a city, I would have booby traps. Everything around me would be booby trapped. Talking about the gas, I'd be having gasoline. Be ready to burn everybody and all this stuff. You're going to have to live like a hermit in town, because anybody that knows that you have stuff eventually is going to say something to somebody, and if I come across a place that is booby trapped, now it depends. If I'm with, I talked about traveling as a refugee. If it was 3 guys and all women and children, I found the place that's booby trapped, I'd avoid it and go on. If I'm traveling with all healthy males, and we are as a gang or a group of militia, when I find a booby trapped area, I would have to think real hard if I would bypass it or find out why it's booby trapped. Because if it's booby trapped, there's probably something in there I need. So booby trapping, I don't know how it's going to work and if it would work. I've talked about if you're holding up through the night and just needing the shelter through the night, and you're going to get your bucket and chop up some wood and start a fire and do some cooking and do all this stuff. I talked about you would have the hallways around you, everything around you. I would have gravel or broken glass. I like the broken glass. And I would put trip lines up using wire or paracord, this type of stuff. Put it, I say 6 inches, maybe a foot high off the ground, and run it through. This way it's going to slow anybody down that's coming down the hall or coming through your way, and it's easier. Okay, well, look behind us, and it's the same thing there in front of us. Now, if all this behind us was walls on both sides, we could put, like I say, trip lines and gravel, or like I say, I love broken glass. And especially if there's no doors for them to go in, they have to stay in this area. That would be a hard one to go through. And especially because you can't get down, you can't even get down your hands and knees because the glass would cut you up. And like I say, so and you can't take shelter if there's no doors on both sides. And talking about the doors, if you are holding up, you're going to be staying here for a while, I would board all the doors up. I mean, make them so people can't go into each door. And because that keeps them out here in front. Yes, they can tear the doors down and stuff like that, but you're going to hear them. So that's what I'm saying. These are things to think on. But I say the trip line and glass really disturbs people. And like I say, for me, would I make the choice of going in on something like that? A lot of it depends on how desperate I am at the time. If I'm low on supplies, and things look bad, I will let me go through the booby traps and go through the ordeal that we have to, because I know there's something there. And like I say, but you can do it just minimal if you're just spending the night. You don't need to go get so elaborate and try to do so much. But if you are going to stay permanent, yes. And like I say, we're right back also with communications, because communications is going to be working a lot. Either you have trip lines and put cans and bottles or stuff, so somebody hits the rope, it'll knock a bottle down and break, and we'll hear the bottle break and stuff. And of course we can use the electronic motion detectors and stuff like that, but it's the same thing. We're right back to we're using up valuable batteries. And like I say, a lot of people get overconfident when they start using that electronic stuff. So I try to keep it basic and simple. If I'm going to be staying in this area, you may want to, like I say, put oil or something down on the floors, make it harder for people to get around. Why? Because one of the things I say, you have to have good, sturdy pair of combat boots. This will help you kick doors in and stuff like that. But like I say, oily floor, especially if there's tile on the floor or something like that, your combat boots are not going to be doing you all that much good. So there's things you need to look at on that. I would have a staff, like a walking stick, little walking stick, like that. And these are things you can prop up in a door, prop it up underneath a doorknob, and that will help slow people down. Well, that'd be a better job of stopping people than a door wedge, and even door wedges would work good also. But like I say, if you're, remember when I was talking about having the doors shut where people can't get in? Yes, you can do that. Also, you can knock holes. See, this is your building. You've got control of this building. You can knock holes in the walls, so once you get inside one of these, you can just go right on down. So in other words, they're over there, yes, but they're stopped there until they knock holes in the walls. Okay, but what we're going to do, we already have maybe the first 3 or 4 rooms, the walls are whole, but all the rest of them there's holes. So we can go on down there, and that will help us get behind them and all this stuff. And we can communicate. We're talking about using the batteries. With that, we can tell them they're at room, room 4, and then so then we know they're at that door, and then you're on the inside. You can just shoot through the door if you have an AK-47, and you can rip them apart, and without even having to make contact with them. And depending on the structure of the building, you may be able to, if you're using AK-47, shoot right through the walls where you don't have to make any contact or put yourself in jeopardy at all. So there's other things you can do if you want to get into the combat type situation. And that's what I'm saying. I'm going to have to really be desperate before I'm going to come in. But like I say, once I commit to coming in, every time that booby trap either hurts one of us or kills one of us, I can't stop. I can't go back. My desperation will continue to intense. So don't rely on the booby traps to keep people out. Now we're right back to location. And in other words, once the shit hits the fan, everybody's trying to get out of town. If you can load your shit up and take over one of these good shelters we talked about earlier, that would be a good way of holding out. I doubt if you're wherever you live in any city, I can't imagine you living in any place you can protect from desperate people. I can't imagine it. There are buildings you can. Those are the buildings you should be scoping out now. So if you're planning on staying, Have your stuff where you can get to it. If you're planning on staying, you should be working out something with 3-man militias, because you're going to need help moving your stuff. And after you get into a position you think you can hold, you're going to need help to hold it. So any way you look at it, you're going to need more people power. And if you're with women and children, that's going to add to everything. Like I say, you're going to have to consider hygiene. You're going to have to be, where you're going to go to the bathroom. I mean, you can't just shit in your nest. You have to have all this stuff figured out. What are you going to do? You're going to think you're just going to shit in the bucket and throw it out the window? If I'm walking down the street and I see a pile of shit, I would think there's somebody around here. And they're holding up. The more shit I see, the more they're holding up. You still got trash to deal with. I wish I could say the high buildings, but man, I don't know if I'd want a high building or not. High building is good, but the higher it is, there's less likely I can escape from that building. Now, if I can get things set up right, where I could put a cable, and I could ride a cable from one building to another, that would be another thing. The next thing is, do I got the balls to do it? No, I don't know. Maybe if I'm desperate enough, I might do it. In the woods, I do it. I use repelling equipment, and I can set up in trees. And I will use a cable line to get out of the tree. In other words, I could use the tree to as an observation, be able to look around and stuff like that. And you don't really shoot out of the tree, because the tree, you got the swaying going on, so you're not going to get accurate shooting. But it's a good place to see what's going on. And a fast, easy way of getting out is a line. Just take your line and right on out with using the line. Could you do it in the city? Yes, you could. Would you do it in the city? I don't know. I say I don't know if I got what it takes to do it. But it is an option. It's a good option to communicate. You could run a string and then pull the string back and forth to either run supplies back and forth, or messages. So I don't know. Wow, I know I've been kind of all over, kind of skipping back and forth, but I say that's what brainstorming is. You think of something, you go to that. Boy, I don't know. If you're going to hold up in a place, how are you going to get the water to get you there? Now, I mean, I'm just talking about drinking water. I mean, I drink a minimum of 2 liters a day, and bathing, I know few of you ever use a bucket of water to bathe in. I get water purification. Your whatever it is that you have, you definitely need it. But I say you also need to figure on how much water you're going to be needing with all the people that you're going to be with. You have to have some way of estimating how much water you have, how long you're going to go before you're going to need more water. Water is a very big thing. That's one thing we're talking about. How much water does it take to take a bath? Have you showered before with water? And how much water does it take? For me, it takes about 5 gallons. But then again, it depends on how cold that water is. The colder that water is, the less water that I need to take a shower. And if I say, I've had a 5 gallon, but every night, no, there's times I use a 5 gallon bucket, and I've had to use a a cup or container, you know, or something like that, and pour water. Dip in, get the water, pour it on me. That's the way you take your shower. I made a video talking about water and how you need to do an exercise and cut the water off at your house for a weekend. So when the kids come home from school, then turn off the water. Now what? They still got their electric, but just try with the water, and you're going to learn how to well, let's see. Another thing is, I wake up in the morning and brush my teeth and get myself all ready to go. It takes me 20 ounce bottle of water is what I need to get going in the morning. And but I gotta remember, I drink a lot of water. More than half of that water is going to go just for drinking, because when I first wake up, I need water. I need water to get started with. I'm trying to think if I missed something. I say, water is something you always have to be considering. You never get caught short on water, because then you get desperate. You get desperate, you're screwed. Food, it's best to have the means to get food. If you are by the ocean, and it's not so much the ocean itself, but the waterways leading into the ocean, there ought to be fish in that, hopefully not that contaminated. And so maybe having some hooks and some line might not be a bad idea. Have that in your traveling bag. And so like I say, so food is a big thing. It's best to have the means to get food than to try to carry enough food. And means to get food covers a lot. When I said that, it covers a lot, because I have means to get food, and most of it is in skills and abilities. But like I say, there's other things you can do, and so that's your food. And then shelter. Shelter is not a big deal until you are weakened down. Once you are weak, then that will determine you're probably going to die if you don't have shelter to protect you from the elements. And if you get injured and stuff like that, that's when shelter really comes in handy too. No, we're not even talking about the bad weather. I'm just talking about not so much this kind of weather. Well, even this kind of weather where we're at here would be kind of rough. Like I say, the shelter also includes something to keep the critters from getting a hold of you. Mosquitoes, ticks, there's all kinds of bugs, snakes, poisonous caterpillars. There's all kinds of things a shelter is supposed to protect you from, not just the weather. And with the proper shelter, you will have, not only will all that, I say you'll be secure, but you'll be able to sleep. And a good night's rest means a lot. When the more rest you start losing, you're going to get more ineffective, and you won't be able to hold your own if you get into a situation where your physical well-being is going to be tested.